Today is a very interesting mixture of feasts, actually, which has a lot of theological and spiritual ramifications. Today, of course, is Good Friday, which we all know, but the date is March 25th, which traditionally is the solemnity of the Annunciation, March 25th. And in the Annunciation, we celebrate the incarnation of God, that God chose to be one of us. The promise was made to Mary that she would bear a son. On the same day, we celebrate that day where she stood at the foot of the cross to say goodbye. It's odd that these two feasts come together, but so very appropriate, because they say, love, I love you, I want to be with you, even with your sufferings, even with your pains, even with your love. The great poet John Donne wrote a poem because in 1608 there was another moment when the two feasts came together, Good Friday and the Annunciation. And he wrote this poem called Upon the Annunciation and Passion Falling Upon One Day, 1608. He has this beautiful way of looking at things through Mary, because in a sense, she is what links the two feasts. Because in the Incarnation, at the Feast of the Annunciation, she says yes to this mysterious journey that no one had ever been on before, not knowing what it would cost her, not knowing what it involved. And the full fruition of that walk, of that moment, was seen on Golgotha, when she looked at her son and saw her own son's death. John Donne, who can say it much more beautifully than I, says, and I'm just giving you a couple of excerpts, "Today my soul eats twice, Christ hither and away. This doubtful day of feast or fast, Christ came and went away. And the head of life at once not yet alive and dead. She sees at once," meaning her soul, "she sees at once the Virgin Mother stay reclused at home, public at Golgotha. Sad and rejoiced she's seen at once, and seen at almost 50, and at scarce 15. So he's contrasting her age, that in one moment she's 15 years old saying yes, and the next moment at 50, she's saying goodbye to her son. The death of a child is one of the most painful things anyone can go through. To see your child reviled, made fun of, and put to a public and very cruel death had to be a terrifying, terrible burden for Our Lady. At once a son is promised her and gone. Gabriel gives Christ to her, he her to John. The abridgment of Christ's story, which makes one of the angels Ave and consummatum est. Beautiful. The Latin, of course, is the Ave Maria of Gabriel, announcing to her the great dignity that will be hers, and what Jesus said on the cross, consummatum est. It is done. It is finished. It was the same humility that he would be a man and leave to be. His imitating spouse would join in one manhood's extremes. He shall come. He is gone. I think that so puts the poignancy that Mary must have brought to the Calvary, the scene of Calvary. This love that she had for so many years for her son. Her belief in God. Her belief that she had a special place in God's plan. To see this as a mother must have been devastating. We kind of say, we're looking in hindsight, we say, well, she knew about the resurrection, she knew about this, but did she? Who understood what resurrection meant? Even the disciples could not figure out what he was talking about. Their resurrection meant at the end of the world, not that in the tomb would be empty. So she saw Jesus, her son, who the angel promised would be the Son of God, not only despised, but rejected by the same religion that she followed, rejected by the government that she was under. All, both Rome and Jerusalem, decided that he had to go, that he was a shame, that he had to be destroyed. This, our Blessed Lady had to carry in her heart. That same heart, confused, not understanding, but faith-filled, had said, fiat, yes, let it be done. And I'm sure she said those same words at the cross, knowing that the God who promised to her in some way that she could not understand would fulfill. So you see, in one sense, today really makes a lot of sense. The congruence of two great mysteries of our faith, the incarnation and the redemption, happening on one day, and not only happening, but shedding light on each other. He came to us to free us, and in freeing us, he made us holy, flesh made holy by his entrance into our limitations and into our labor. Powerful. Powerful when you think of it, what Jesus did for us. And of course the question would be always why? Why did he become flesh for us? He could have saved us by just in heaven saying, save them. He was God. What was the point of becoming one of us? To choose the limitations of what it means to be human. To decide that he would want to experience our life. To taste our joys and our sorrows. All he needed is a 15-year-old's consent to be his mother. Why? And further, why did he consent to such a death, to such a destructive way of ending? The only thing I could say is that when you love someone, you want to share everything with them. What mother or father watching their young child suffer with illness or an accident or sickness would not eagerly take on that suffering to free their child from it? I think we can all understand that. I think most people who are parents here would do that for their child. Even though it meant pain for them and difficulty for them, would you? Why? Simply love. Love creates the energy of compassion, the energy of courage, the energy that is the affectional love that we can have for each other. Once that love is unleashed, it is so powerful. It is so real. It can change lives. And because Jesus was also God, it can change the universe. The universe was fertilized by the power of that love into a new reality. And all of us are called into that. Someone who is willing to share our fate and even our sin. There is a absolutely marvelous number of scenes in Dostoevsky's book Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov, the criminal, the killer, wantonly killed 2 women. He killed these 2 women because he felt he was above it. They had money, he was poor. Rules did not bind him. Commandments meant nothing to him. God's will, forget about it. He was spiritual but not religious. Nothing was going to bind him. Nothing was going to say no to him, except his conscience when it caught up with him. And in comes a woman named Sonia who had to become a prostitute because of poverty. And she meets him and falls in love with him and says to him, "Kiss the ground and ask Earth's forgiveness for the terrible deed you've done." But it's not me. It was a terrible deed. Kiss the ground and make your peace with God and man. And then she began to read to him the Sermon on the Mount. And he cried. He cried when he realized that he was just human. He turns himself in, convicted, had to go to Siberia for the rest of his life. She went with him. Sonia did not just say, "Now that you're on your own way, I'm going to go my own way." But she was in love with him. So she shared his exile. She shared his punishment. It wasn't just you kiss the ground and say, "I'm sorry." It was, we will heal the world together. And my brothers and sisters, this is what today's about. We can heal the world together. Just pick up any newspaper any day. I don't have to, describe what's going on constantly in this world. The world needs healing. And it is only us who truly believe in the Prince of Peace that can bring that healing. Sure, linked up with people who don't believe and people of other religions, because the grace of Christ is given to humanity, not just Catholics. It's given to humanity, to all those who seek the way of love as the answer to all things, and forgiveness as the portal to peace. And so today is a time for us to be born again. It's a time for us to say, to kiss the ground and ask forgiveness for anything that we have done against the law of God and His church. And to say, Lord, heal me that I may heal others. That is Good Friday. May Jesus Christ be praised, both now and forever. Amen.